Boy. CB, thank you very much. Oh, wow. That was going for quite some time. I appreciate that, CB. This is what happens when I don't have my accomplice with me today. So thank you for letting me know about that. Mad love and appreciation. Because if it wasn't for you, who knows how long that could have been going on for. Please feel free to continue to comment. Like I might have said, but you didn't hear. I'm Aja, the CEO and one of two co-founders of Trella Technologies. We go live every Wednesday noon at EST, where we talk about our mission to grow whatever it is that we want, wherever it is we want to grow it. Um, and the reason why we're doing that is because we see the change in the climate, we see the change in the environment, and we need to be able to grow our own food, our own plant medicine, despite where we are geographically and despite the type of environmental conditions that we're dealing with. So we're going to be talking about what's going on in California with the heat wave out there, how that's impacting the power grid, and how that can impact those of you that are farmers, whether you're growing indoors or outdoors. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk a little bit about what was going on last night. And my voice is a little tired today because of, overuse. But as I was saying, one of the things that you can do I saw online a speech coach and voice coaches. They say, drinking more water, resting the voice, and doing certain things. So I'm gonna have to do a little bit and do some digging and do some learning about how to repair the voice a little bit today. But yeah, thanks for joining in. We're gonna get started in just a bit. Now that I've got my mic live, that's gonna make things a heck of a lot better. Denise, my accomplice, Snuffy G, won't be joining us today. She's handling some family related issues. So please, it's going to be a conversation between you and I. Feel free to continue to comment and let me know if you have any questions, any thoughts, any ideas that you want to share with me or share with the community. I can throw those comments right up on the screen and we could chat about it. So please feel free to engage today. We're probably going to go for about 30 minutes or so. I want to talk a little bit about what happened last night and why my voice is a little bit tired. Give a couple of other companies some shout outs. And then we're going to jump into the topic today. So um, let's get started. All right, all right. Let me just share my screen. There we go. So last night, and this is something that we've talked about. I think in June we first connected with the 10K project. So the 10K project is an organization that is really about trying to create an atmosphere where those that want to invest in Black founders, Black entrepreneurs, can find a spot where they can do so. It's all about regulation crowdfunding, and as well as real estate investing, crypto. They cover a variety of different topics, but one of the cool things that the 10K project does, and Tawana is one of the the main heads that that are behind the 10K project. One of their missions is to make sure that there's a place where startups, entrepreneurs, companies like Trella Technologies can connect with people who want to invest in them and want to support them. So maybe back in May or June, I believe, we did a pitch to their group, the 10K Project community, and they gave us 45 minutes to give a pitch, which if you don't know much about the pitching atmosphere, typically when you pitch an investor, they only really want to give you like 7 minutes, 10 minutes. Um, and they want to get through them quick, which yeah, I guess I understand the premise behind that when you're trying to look at a lot of deals. But from the entrepreneur's perspective, 7 minutes is okay. 45 minutes is lovely. So they gave us 45 minutes to really talk about what it is that we're trying to do, everything that we've accomplished, what we're going to use the funding for. And we were able to raise a lot of funding during that presentation. So really thankful to the 10K project for that opportunity. And then on top of that, they came back around and said, "Hey, Aja, if you would like to provide an update to our community on what you've been doing since June, please do. Please come back." And and they also included not just myself, but two other companies. So it was three companies that are all Black founded and run and are raising money via regulation crowdfunding. So I wanted to spend just a little bit of time to give them some shout out too, because as we all talked about last night, and we were on at about 8 p.m. Eastern, and it went till almost about like 9:15 or so. Um, as we talked about it last night, in regards to seeing companies like Trella, black-owned companies, et cetera, that are raising money, it's all about people seeing our campaign and being seen. If they don't know you exist, it's all for naught. So I wanted to spend just a little bit of time to showcase these other two companies because they're in the same position as Trella is, where we're out there trying to be seen, trying to let people know that this is what we're about, this is what we're doing. And if you don't have a lot of ad funding or a lot of notoriety in social media, it can be really hard to get your ideas and your mission out there. So first up, I wanted to share one company that was also on the call with us last night, Minwo. Minwo is the community as a service platform for the Black business economy, which is actually a tool that I think is really created for other entrepreneurs as well. It's an ecosystem that they're trying to create where there's support for Black founders who are looking to find investment, find partnerships, supply chains, all these different types of things that you need as a founder. So I wanted to just give them a shout out. They're also raising capital, looking for investment from the community using WeFunder. So you can check them out on WeFunder. It's Minwo is the name of the company. They have an app that is called, I think it's Rialto, if I'm saying that correctly. Apologies if I'm not. But you can see here, and I'll just zoom in so you can see a little bit better about the co-founder, Melanie. She says, I'm building the company and platform I wish existed when I started my founder journey. After 3 years in Silicon Valley, so she's been in it, of walking into rooms where I was the odd woman out, I finally began to discover the opportunities that were designed specifically to support me. Rialto is centralizing Black business development to accelerate the next generation. So please take a look at this campaign, share it with your network. And that was another thing we were talking about, is that it's lovely for people to be able to invest. If you can't invest, it's lovely to just share that you know about these companies with your network on your social media channels. Because if they don't know about us, that you can't make a move to invest and support. So Minwo was the first, so you can see they're doing some dynamic stuff, and you can read all about them, their highlights, their achievements right here in the team as well. So please check out Minwo. They had a chance to pitch, and then they are also on the call with me as well last night. The next company up is TipSnaps. TipSnaps. Let me zoom in on them just a little bit. There you go. TipSnaps. So TipSnaps, they're raising on republic.com. Republic.com. Go to republic.com, type in TipSnaps, and you'll be able to see this profile right here, and with their highlights and what it is that they're looking to do. So I just highlighted, let me go down to that area where I highlighted some stuff that kind of jumped out to me personally. TipSnaps is a company, and they're creating something called Tip Pools. Tip Pools' mission is to be the platform of choice for fans looking to dictate the content they want to see from creators through the power of crowdfunding. So this is one of those platforms, and you're seeing a lot of this type of stuff out here where the creator community, they want to be compensated for their content, right? And rightfully so. They drive all these social media apps. If it wasn't for the creators, the social media apps would have nothing to show. And they wouldn't have anything to advertise against. So the creator economy is being overlooked. There's certain demographics of the creator economy that are being overlooked, Black and brown creators that have very valuable content that they should be compensated for. So TipSnaps is creating Tip Pool and a couple of other dynamic applications to take advantage of this, and to provide an ecosystem in an area where Black creators, brown creators can be compensated for their very valuable skills. So check out TipSnaps as well. So we had Minwo and WeFunder. Just in case you missed it, go to WeFunder to check out Minwo, and then go to Republic to check out TipSnaps. Again, if you can invest, this is an investment. It's not a donation. These are actual companies that you're getting ownership in. If you can invest, great, please do. If you can't invest, please share. Make sure that you share this information and give them some hype. Follow them on social media and get them out there. It really helps a lot to get that type of support. And then lastly, we have Trella. We were also a part of last night's presentation, we had a chance to give everybody an update on what's going on. So, and you can see that if you scroll through what our investors say, and you'll see from time to time there's mentions of people from the 10K project who heavily invested in what it is that we're doing, as well as others. So we really like this what they say section. It really helps us to understand that we have support, that people believe in our mission, and that is what gives us that energy, that internal energy to keep doing what it is that we're doing, and moving forward every day, every week. So please consider investing in Trella Technologies as well as the other companies. But again, if you cannot invest, share, let people know what we're up to. If you see us on social media, give us a like, give us a comment, push us, give us a share. That stuff helps us as well. So I wanted to just let everybody know about what was going on last night, and why my voice is just a little bit tired. And I had a couple of calls this morning. So my voice is going to be tapped by the end of this live, I'm sure. So let me just check on the comments. There you go. All right. Moving on. So let's get into what's going on in California. For those of you that may or may not have seen, they are having the craziest heat wave that they've ever had in recorded history right now. It's extremely hot. There's 3 San Francisco Bay Area cities that have beat all-time record highs, and not just in this area, but it's getting hot in a lot of other areas. I'm going to show some maps and stuff so you can get a geographic perspective on how hot it's getting out there. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is not just because, and I think we talked about this during the last live last week. We talked about what was happening in Jackson, Mississippi. We talked about climate change, and we talked about how, unfortunately, that term has been politicized to the point where no one's acting. People aren't doing anything. They're, pointing blame, and looking at one another and saying, well, it's because of fossil fuels, or it's because of X, or it's because of Y. During this time of back and forth and bickering, real changes are being experienced and are making dramatic impacts, negative impacts on people's lives, on their homes, on their businesses, etc. So I am past, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again for those of you that might be new. I am so past, the level of who's done it. I'm at the level of let's fix it. We've got to start creating solutions that will help us to, one, not rely on so much energy, because it's obviously not beneficial to be relying on something that you have to get from another country. I mean, it makes no sense to me that you would tie yourself so much to something that requires you to have to get energy from Russia, Canada, Saudi Arabia, etc., when you have the sun and technology right here that can help you to, one, not have to rely on those other external countries, and to be able to supply enough energy for yourself. Yes, these things will take time, and I'm about trying to figure out how can we speed up that progress. I understand that you can't just flip the switch and remove fossil fuels. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that instead of bickering about you know, staying and relying on these things, let's think critically. It makes no sense to rely on something from an external country when you have that resource in your own country. It makes no sense. It just makes no sense. So, um, please, if you are, hearing people that are saying, "Yeah, but we can't get off of fossil fuels," these are just excuses. These are delay tactics. Things can be done. There's lots of different things out there. There are people developing technology that can take water from the air, from the fog, etc. And over the next few weeks, I'll be sharing more and more about that. We actually talked about one system from the Moses West Foundation, who's a gentleman who's created a system that will take water from the air. I mean, these are the types of innovations and technology that we need to be putting more effort into. And right now, we're already in the midst of experiencing, all of this climate change and how it's impacting the city. So please, 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 don't put so much effort on the why. Let's get together and start doing some action, some actionable stuff, some actual items. So San Francisco, just to show you what's going on there. And zoom in for you a little bit. I'm going to be highlighting the temperatures. And the reason why I'm highlighting the temperatures that are being experienced is because I want you to note anytime there's a temperature that's over 95 degrees or 100 degrees. And the reason why I'm picking those temperatures is that's when, most HVAC, most air conditioning systems are designed to work um, with when the temperature outside is less than 100 degrees Fahrenheit. When the temperature gets higher than 100 degrees Fahrenheit, that's when these mechanical systems will start to have problems, malfunction, and become extremely inefficient. So we're now at the level where your traditional HVAC, your even your commercial scale HVAC is having to really overwork itself to the point of possible failure and inefficiency, which means you need more energy to cool the building. So I've been looking at and tracking how many days are we going to be experiencing that are going to be higher than that 95 degrees or higher than 100 degrees, because that's when HVAC systems will start to fail. And for those of you that are growing indoors, that are indoor cultivators, you're significantly reliant on your HVAC to maintain the proper temperature and the proper humidity. And if you're having more and more days every year where your system is being, pushed to the limit, it's going to cause, a malfunction. It will mean that you'll probably have to replace that equipment a lot sooner than you thought you were going to. I mean, the lifespan of typical HVAC is about 15 to 20 years. So if you're if you're consistently every summer pushing your equipment over the max, you're going to have to replace your HVAC. I mean, it's the same as a car. There are some people that can maintain a car because of the way they drive it for 10 or 15 years, and there's some people that have to get a new car every 5 years because they're over driving it. They're heavy on the brakes, they're heavy on the gas. So basically, these external temperatures are causing these situations where people are having to really push their equipment, and you're going to wind up having to replace it a lot sooner than you thought. So I'm going to be highlighting these high temperatures. So 115 degrees is severe, and then you've got Napa's hitting 114 degrees, etc. Some stuff from Twitter with more information on the high temperatures that are being experienced. Let me scroll down just a little bit.
To transform patient lives, just don't stop.
These apps are tremendously annoying. I mean, these ads, golly. I've got to get one of those things that reduce your ads. Let me see here. I think it was a little bit further down. Here we go. California's independent system operator, which manages the state's power grid, declared an energy emergency alert 2 on Tuesday afternoon and called on consumers to reduce energy use to prevent rolling blackouts. So they're asking for their citizens to reduce how much energy they're using. And if I look at the next tab I have here, this is from PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric. So this is the regional, electric provider, still asking people to please conserve your power from 4 to 9 p.m. to help prevent outages. And in some areas, people are actually doing this, which is great. They were actually able to avoid rolling outages last night. Tuesday night, just last night, was the hottest temperature experienced in some of these areas. I believe Sacramento was one. And because people are able to, conserve energy, they didn't have to start doing rolling blackouts. But the temperature is continuing to increase. So people are going to have to continue to be, conservative. And I just don't know how long that's going to last for, or how doable that really is. Here's another article. California and the West broil and record-setting heat waves. And you can see how it's impacting some of the people. But I wanted to scroll into this section here. California state's capital of Sacramento tied a record Tuesday with its 41st day of temperature reaching at least 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So here we go. You've got 41 days throughout the year of 100 degrees Fahrenheit being reached, which means your HVAC, your systems, even your people. I mean, there are animals and cattle that are having issues from heat stress. If you are an outdoor farmer and having to work in these conditions, you can't do that, over a prolonged amount of time. The more higher temperatures we have, the more it's going to impact the workers, the people that actually farm our food and provide our food. These are becoming unsafe conditions for people to work outside. So this is one of the reasons why I support infrastructure grants funding to help outdoor farmers transition into indoor farming situations, but making sure that they're doing so in a way that's going to be energy efficient and not have a huge energy draw, because then you're back to creating a similar problem. So you have to be smart about it. But I do think that because, one, out west, you have water shortages, we have droughts. Two, the temperatures are increasing so much that we're going to have to start looking at ways to grow indoors, but you're still going to have to do it in an energy efficient way. And there are solutions out there, and that's one of the solutions that's what we're working on at Trella Technologies, figuring out how can you grow fruit bearing plants, which require a lot of light energy. Fruit bearing plants compared to microgreens require so much more light energy. How can you grow those types of fruit bearing plants indoors in vertically stacked arrangements so you get the most out of your space, and also do so while reducing your energy consumption? That's what Trella Grow LST is about. If you're new to us, you don't know what that is, check out our website, trella.io. That's Trella.io. Actually, let me just put a banner across the screen so you'll be able to check that out. So check us out at Trella.io to figure out, find out more about our product, Trella Grow LST, that helps indoor farmers or people transition into indoor farming and have the ability to still grow substantial fruit-bearing plants indoors while saving energy costs and saving time and space as well. So check that out. But here we go again with, a 41st day of temperatures above 100 degrees. So there's this map that I wanted to show people that I found to be pretty insightful, and I'll zoom in on this map again. This right now is showing it's a project. This is a map that's supposed to give you a projection. So you can see right now I've got it showing me how many days above 95 degrees Fahrenheit should we anticipate over the next 20 years, between the year 2020 to 2039. How much can we anticipate? And as you scroll across, you can see that it'll give you estimates on how many days you're going to experience. So if I'm looking at California right now, I'm just kind of hovering over little parts of California, Northern California, going all the way down to Southern. You can see that most of those it's projecting 40 days, going all the way up to 2039. Well, as I just showed you in this NPR article, we're already at the 41st. So the projections are not lying. At least in this case, the projection is actually on target, and some might say a little low, because we're already surpassing what it projected. We're already at our 41st day, and this is saying, if I scroll over, 40 days. So you can use this map to kind of give you an understanding of what the increase will be like. If I go to the next 20 years, 2040 to 2059, you can see how it really starts to it starts to change up north. Up north, you're starting to experience more and more days above 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And why or 95 degrees Fahrenheit? And are we looking at 95 and 100? These are conditions where it gets too hot for people to work, and two, your HVAC equipment, your AC equipment is severely stressed to the point where it's not going to work properly. And to really prove that point and drive that point home, here's a map that PG&E put together. So that's a Pacific Gas and Electric company out west. Here's a little map that talks about, and I'll scroll in on this too, how outages occur in hot weather, and what's really going on. Like, why is it that they need to start tamping down on energy consumption when it gets so hot? So there's a lot of different points made on this little diagram, on this image, which I thought was pretty cool. But I wanted to just focus on a few. The first being, number one, an increased demand for air conditioning during hot weather may overload electric lines, transformers, and other equipment, resulting in power outages. So it's not just your HVAC equipment in your space or in your house that's being overworked. It's also everything that supplies the electricity to your location that's being overworked. So the overhead power lines, the transformers, et cetera, are all having to deal with these extreme temperatures and the extreme demand that they're working under. So that's the first thing. Now let's go to number two. sustained demand and increased demand, constantly asking for electricity. Sustained demand, a sustained electric demand during heat storms may not allow transformers time to cool down properly overnight, causing them to overheat and damage electrical equipment. So again, everything is being overworked. If you're relying on the public utility to provide the main source of electricity to your facility, and you're not concerned about the fact that that main source is being substantially overworked more than it has in the past, you should be. Some people have backup power systems. They got backup generators. They may have solar panels, which are all great, but does it cover 100% capacity of your facility? How long can you be down for? How often can you be down for? I mean, if you're dealing with diesel fuel, how much diesel fuel capacity do you have for your backup generator? You have to be aware of all these things and actually do some of the work beforehand. You don't want to wait until it's too late. Please don't wait until you're getting that notice that, hey, we're gonna have some power outages, and now you got to figure out how to continually provide power to your agricultural business, your cultivation facility, etc. The other one that I wanted to point out were the underground lines. I mean, this one here, when we talk about how our infrastructure throughout the entire country needs to be revamped and reworked, when underground lines have stress insulation, a short circuit may occur as the lines expand from the heat. So this is a substantial project. I mean, you don't just, even if you're changing the overhead power lines, you've got to change the underground power lines. You have to look at the transformers. This will require a lot of money. And yes, we did have our Inflation Reduction Act, which supposedly will help with some of this stuff, but it was small compared to some of the other things that we fund. So please, from a perspective of having your support, understand that this is not something that, can be pushed aside, ignored. It's having an impact currently today on businesses, individuals, people's lives, etc. So please, understand the importance and the sense of urgency. These are major projects that need to be done. These are not just small things. They have a huge impact geographically. As I talked about on the last live, we talked about Jackson, Mississippi, and how flooding pushed their water treatment facilities past the brink. The pumps that they had were not capable of keeping up with that amount of flow, and the pumps went kaput, and the city was out for, I think they just came back online a couple of days ago. So, and not all of them, just some of them, and they're still under a boil water ban, so they can't even drink the water still, becoming another Flint, Michigan situation in Jackson, Mississippi, all from a flood and from a handful of pumps not being adequately maintained or replaced if needed. And in my opinion, they probably need to be replaced, and they just weren't replaced. So this is prevalent throughout the country. It's just that we're seeing them in small pockets. You see a little thing happening in California. You see a little thing happening in Mississippi. Even last week in Providence, Rhode Island, which is local to where I am, we had huge torrential downpour of rain that flooded I-95. So anybody that lives along the East Coast, you're familiar with 95. Interstate 95 takes you all along the East Coast from north to south. They had severe flooding on 95 to the point where people couldn't even get through for several hours in Providence, Rhode Island. And Providence, Rhode Island is actually protected by a levee system. That levee system is not adequate. It has problems. If that levee system were to fail, you could walk downtown Providence and you would experience water above your head. Don't believe me? Check it out. If you're in Providence yourself, there's an actual old flood mark on a building owned by Textron Financial Systems. It's a huge high-rise in downtown Providence. And on their front door going in on the right-hand side, there's a little indicator that shows you the past flood level. And it's above my head. When I stand beside it, it goes above my head. So this is not just something that's happening in California or happening in Texas. These things can happen everywhere and from different reasons. It could be too much rain, not enough rain, too much wind, hail, etc. Everywhere geographically has something that they have to deal with. So it's just unfortunately a matter of time before people start to experience this where you are. So you want to be ahead of the game. You don't want to just rely on your insurance company if you can even get insurance, because in some cases you can't. Especially if you're in a flood zone, you have a limitation on how much insurance you can get. So you need to do something. And I think sometimes people think, what can I do? It's Mother Nature. There are things you can do. The first step is to be aware of whether or not you're exposed, and then there are some things that you can do. So what we decided to do, because we did a survey back in 2020 and asked cannabis cultivators mainly, are you prepared for climate risk? And if so, what are you doing to prepare? And a lot of people said not, well, I would say maybe it was close to about 50% said, yes, we are aware and we're trying to do something. But when you ask them the details of exactly what it is that they're doing, they weren't thinking about things like increased temperature, flooding, hailstorms. Those things were not prevalent on their mind because we rely on either insurance or luck. We hope that it won't occur. And that's just not a proper way to run your business or your life, is to base it always on hope, especially when we have access to education, resources, information that will make us, that will help us to prepare. So we put this together. I'll drop this in the comments for those of you that want to check it out. And we also have this on our website so that you can check it out as well. You go to Trella.io, you'll see a pop-up, and you can click that pop-up and it'll take you to this as well. This is just a brief 20-minute presentation that we put together about the top 5 climate risks that farmers aren't ready for, and what they can do to protect their agricultural businesses. You can download the presentation. In the presentation, there's information on what to look for, how to figure out, are you exposed? And there's also information on what to do, free resources that you can tap into on your own to start thinking about, all right, maybe I'm exposed to hail. What can I do about it? And you definitely don't want to wait until it's too late. The amount of time that your business is interrupted is just not sustainable for your customers and your clients. Those who you're supporting need food. They need the plant medicine. And if they can't get it from you and they're able to get it from somewhere else, they'll do so. And they may not come back to your company or to your facility or to your farm. So it can have a negative impact, not on your business at the moment, but also down the line, because you're going to lose customer base and lose your market share. So these things are all they're very, intertwined. It's not just about being too hot and having to tamp down your energy. There's a lot more to it. Over time, it can cause bigger issues, but we have the tools, we have the resources, we have the education to be prepared, to make sure that it won't really, have a significant impact on what it is that you're building, on your legacy, etc. So that's what we do at Trella Technologies. That's what we're about. If you need some support, if it seems a little overwhelming, please reach out to us. You can check us out at Trella.io, sign up for our newsletter, email us as well at email@Trella.io. So there's different ways to reach out, or just check us out on our next live. Come back next Wednesday, noon EST. We'll be here, and it'll be myself and Snuffy G, and we'll answer any questions that you have. Talk about what's happening, in the news, give you company updates, and we'll stay engaged. But for those of you that are checking us out, hey, another comment. Like, what if these instances are established in markets like Cali, Colorado, Mass, Chicago? How would contaminating unsafe water affect operations of the company? That's another thing, is having to rely. So for those that are cultivating in these areas like California, Colorado, that may have contaminated water or boil water issues, some companies use reverse osmosis to filter their water. Some companies have that capability to do that. Unfortunately, when you do reverse osmosis, you also it does have, you lose about 50% of your water. So you're not able to make the most out of all the water that's available, which means you're wasting water. So that's one thing. But two, in some cases, you may not have access to filtered water, specifically if you're growing outdoors in areas where you're just using what's coming straight from the utility, straight from the tap. So again, this is another reason, thanks for bringing this up, why indoor farming is crucial, and why having your own water source is crucial, because you don't want to put this contaminated, unsafe water into your grow, because whatever you put in the water, the plants are going to drink that, they're going to soak it up. If you consume it, if you smoke it, if you digest it in any way, you're bringing all of that into your body as well. So it does have an impact on what you're growing. I've heard of growers in California, even just home growers in California, worried about using acid rain and the water that, the rain that they get from the sky. They don't want to use it to water their plants and their food because they feel like it's unsafe. So you do have to filter water, and treat the water. You can't just use this unsafe water in your business. So thanks for bringing that up. That's definitely something to look out for. All right. So we'll be back next Wednesday at noon EST. Um, check us out then. Subscribe. Click that notification button to be notified when we're going to be live. Thank you to all. Again, don't forget to check out these two companies, Minwo and on WeFunder and Tip Snaps. I'm telling you, we've got some Black entrepreneurs that are doing some incredible things, very innovative, and they just don't get play like some other people do. So it's really crucial that those of you that want to support these two organizations, these entrepreneurs, if you can't invest, push them, share them, spread the word about them because it's extremely helpful. Please trust. We know it because we're in the game as well. All right, everyone. Mad peace, mad love, and thank you for your time. Appreciate it. And CB, thank you very much, CB, if you're still around, for letting me know about that mic issue in the beginning. Really appreciate that. Thank you.